Men have needs as intense or even more intense than sex. Well, that's true. They may have strong desires that go beyond the physical, which are often deeper than we think. And no, I'm not talking about anything abstract or complex. These are real needs that shape the way they act, think, and most importantly, interact with the world around them. Today, you will understand these 4 needs that for many men are stronger than sex. And perhaps by understanding this, you can improve your relationships. My name is Lena, and in this video, we will see these important aspects together. So leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell because I am going to give you much more content about seduction, self-esteem, and relationships that will help you achieve your goals. And to show that you are part of our community, write a key phrase at the comments besides the obvious. 1. Respect. The first need we will look at is the need for esteem. Respect is undoubtedly one of the most fundamental needs of a man. It has to do with how a person views themselves and how they believe the people around them treat them. When a man feels respected, he feels more secure and confident, which, as a result, affects the quality of his relationships. This emotional security translates into a state of mind in which you do not feel threatened, but rather feel comfortable being who you really are. In the context of a relationship, respect goes far beyond simply listening to what they have to say. It involves valuing their opinions, understanding their decisions, and recognizing their efforts, whether at work, in your personal life, or in your relationship. A man wants to see that the respect he receives is genuine and not an obligation. When he feels this, the relationship becomes more balanced and deeper. Respect is also closely related to human autonomy. You don't want to be constantly watched or have your decisions ignored. This includes simple aspects of daily life, such as the way you act or the time you spend on activities. When you respect his space and his choices without constant criticism or unnecessary interference, he feels valued and able to make decisions without fear of being devalued. This freedom to be yourself in a relationship creates a relationship of mutual trust in which both parties feel respect for their individuality. It is like an implicit agreement that despite disagreements, respect will always be fundamental. Many times, disrespect can be seen in small behaviors such as interrupting what you are saying, belittling your achievements, or even not showing interest in what you have to say. This attitude, however subtle it may seem, can make you feel devalued and even unappreciated. A man who doesn't feel respected tends to become withdrawn, which can further damage the dynamic of the relationship. On the other hand, simply listening carefully without making snap judgments shows respect. This shows that you are willing to understand and learn about what is important to him and strengthens the emotional connection between you. Respect also means not minimizing or ignoring their feelings. Many men find it difficult to openly express their emotions, and when this happens, the last thing they need is to be rejected or ridiculed. Even if you don't verbalize it, you need to feel that your feelings are valid and understandable. This creates a safe space where you can begin to open up more without fear of being seen as weak or vulnerable. When respect is present, you don't feel the need to hide your emotions, and this can change the way you communicate in the relationship. Respect is also important to maintain balance between a couple. In a relationship, both people have their own opinions and points of view. When both people respect each other, they can have a healthy dialogue without falling into destructive arguments or ego battles. A man who feels respected understands that a woman is not trying to dominate him or change his essence, but rather wants to dialogue and find solutions that suit both. This creates a space of true partnership where communication flows in a healthy and constructive manner, which is important for the success of any relationship. This need for respect must not be earned, but constantly maintained. Respect must be demonstrated every day with concrete actions. And most importantly, it should be noticed in small details such as tone of voice, body language, and the words we use. A simple, sincere compliment can be a way to show respect and also acknowledge their efforts during a difficult time. Every detail matters, and these gestures of respect will make the man feel more connected and motivated in the relationship. Respect is the foundation on which any relationship can be built, and without it, other needs will eventually suffer. However, we must also remember that respect must be mutual. There is no point in simply respecting a man if he doesn't do the same for you. Mutual respect creates a healthy exchange where both people feel valued and understood. When a woman feels respected, she can demonstrate her best qualities in a relationship. This exchange of respect ensures the longevity of the relationship because it is what keeps the relationship balanced, in which both feel worthy of love, affection, and attention. Respect is also understanding the right time to give space instead of invading another's space. Men often need personal time to relax, focus on their projects, or reflect on their emotions. When you respect his needs, you show that you understand how important it is to give him space to find himself, instead of forcing him to constantly share everything. This type of respect generates a feeling of freedom and emotional security, creating an environment in which both people feel comfortable being who they really are. In short, respect is one of the strongest pillars of a successful relationship. This goes beyond simply treating others politely. It has everything to do with how both people view and value each other, even in difficult situations. This mutual respect creates a deeper relationship where you can both support each other, grow, and build something lasting together. A man who feels respected will want to return the gesture in an even more meaningful way, allowing the relationship to flourish in a continuous cycle of reciprocity. 2. Admiration. This is a fundamental aspect of male psychology that is often overlooked, but has a profound impact on relationship dynamics. For men, admiration is about more than receiving superficial praise. They seek genuine admiration, especially when they feel valued for their qualities and achievements and not just their appearance. He wants you to see something unique in him, something he can be proud of. When you are admired, you feel more powerful, more confident, and more capable of conquering the world with someone who truly appreciates you. Men's admiration is not limited to the recognition of great achievements, such as a promotion or an important achievement. He also appreciates the little things he does every day, gestures of altruism that are not always noticeable to others. When you notice and acknowledge these details, he feels like he is not being ignored or taken for granted. And you have to admire not only what he does, but also who he is. He wants you to admire his personal qualities, such as his determination, honesty, and even his weaknesses, because this shows that you truly see him as a complete being and not just a successful person. Admiration is often associated with the way a man deals with problems and difficulties. He wants you to see in him the ability to overcome obstacles, stay calm in the face of adversity, and keep moving forward even when things get difficult. Recognizing the inner strength and resilience you possess is a powerful way to create a deep connection. When you admire his courage and his ability to face life's challenges, he feels appreciated and recognized, and this strengthens his confidence in himself and his relationships. But be careful, the admiration must be true. This means that you should not simply praise or flatter him to please him. Men know when a compliment is superficial, and this can make them feel uncomfortable or even distrustful. True admiration arises from a real perception of your value, from how one honestly and without exaggerating your qualities. This does not mean that praise cannot be given, but it must be conscious praise, a recognition that comes from sincere observation and understanding of what is being done well. Additionally, admiration is one of the greatest motivators for men. When you feel admired, you want to return that feeling. He strives even harder to be the best version of himself, to continue achieving success not only for him, but for you as well. This creates a positive cycle in which he feels encouraged to do the best he can in all aspects of life because he knows that you recognize and appreciate him. This is very important in a relationship as it forces both partners to grow and strengthen together. When a man feels admired, he also begins to feel more attractive. Admiration is, in many cases, the fuel that fuels their self-esteem. This is because when he knows that he is appreciated by someone who is important to him, he feels more secure and confident. Their self-esteem increases, and this is reflected in their actions, in the way they behave and interact with the world. So admiration is not just about making someone feel good about themselves, but also about helping them see the best in themselves and feel stronger. This need for admiration is not only associated with great gestures or outstanding achievements. It is often the small gestures of recognition that have the greatest impact. Praising effort, recognizing work well done, or even noticing how they face daily challenges is a way to earn their admiration. This doesn't mean you should pay full attention all the time, but rather be attentive and appreciate the details. A simple "I saw what you did, and I really liked it" can make a big difference in how you feel. Admiration also helps strengthen the emotional intimacy between you. When you feel admired, you are more willing to open your heart, share your fears, insecurities, and dreams. This is because admiration creates a safe environment where you are not afraid to be vulnerable. And vulnerability, although often associated with fear, is also an act of trust. When he trusts you to show who he really is without fear of being judged, the relationship becomes deeper and stronger. Admiring someone also means recognizing moments of personal and collective growth in the relationship. When a man understands that you see him as a constantly evolving person, he feels motivated to continue growing not only for himself, but also for the relationship. This creates a dynamic of mutual development in which both support each other's achievements and learn from mistakes. Admiration is, therefore, a reflection not only of what one already is or has done, but also of what one can become. This becomes a catalyst for the growth of both in the relationship, leading to the personal and professional evolution of both. 3. Freedom. Now, let's talk about the need for freedom. This concept is a little more complex than it may seem at first glance, but it is fundamental to understanding the behavior of many men in relationships. Freedom for them does not mean absence of obligations, but the ability to be who they are, with their own interests and personality, without fear of losing what they have. For many men, freedom in a relationship is synonymous with respect for their choices and a personal space where they do not feel suffocated or constantly watched. Having freedom does not necessarily mean giving up the relationship, but rather ensuring that both parties have the right to develop as individuals within the union. When a man feels like he has the space to be himself, maintain his activities, hobbies, and independence, he becomes more committed and interested in the relationship. Instead of feeling trapped, you feel safe and confident in who you really are without giving up what makes you unique. This freedom also comes with confidence. When you give your man freedom, you show trust in him and the relationship. And trust is a two-way street. This means that when giving freedom, you also have to trust that they will respect that freedom correctly, without insults or disrespect. He is not asking for freedom to leave you or act irresponsibly. What you are looking for is the right to be sincere, to continue developing and achieving your own goals without being under constant pressure. However, freedom should not be confused with lack of responsibility. True freedom in a relationship is based on trust that both partners can fulfill their obligations, even with personal space. This is not about providing the freedom to act without restriction or without regard to another person's feelings, but rather about recognizing the importance of respecting each person's time and interests. Many men need time to themselves, whether it's to take care of their mental health, pursue a hobby, or simply be alone. This is not a sign that he doesn't like being with you, but rather a legitimate need to recharge his batteries. By respecting this time alone, you show understanding of their needs and strengthen the bond of trust. In addition, he will feel more grateful for your company since the time you spend together will be valued even more. Freedom in relationships also means not having to give up your friends or activities. Men, like women, need to maintain their social connections outside of relationships. This could be through sports, friend groups, or even personal interests that don't involve the couple. By respecting this, you show that you trust him and believe in the health of the relationship, even if you have other activities and interests. When a man feels like he has the freedom to be himself, this is directly reflected in his level of commitment. You don't feel the need to make radical concessions in your personality to please another person. This creates a healthier dynamic where you can both be full individuals with your own needs, but still share love and trust in each other. Freedom is not the absence of obligations, but a way to maintain emotional and psychological balance in a relationship. Another important point is that freedom allows relationships to be easier and more natural. When both partners have room for individual growth, the relationship becomes less stifling and more based on a mutual desire to be together. This eliminates the feeling of obligation and makes shared moments more special. Thus, freedom in a relationship creates a healthy cycle of growth and well-being in which both partners feel free to be their best selves. Finally, freedom in a relationship is one of the greatest signs of trust and respect between partners. When a man feels free to be who he is without fears or insecurities, he becomes more committed, more active, and more willing to invest in the relationship. Freedom is the key to a more mature and healthy love, in which both spouses can grow together while maintaining their individuality and mutual respect. 4. Emotional validation. We now come to the fourth fundamental need, emotional validation. This need is often overlooked or misunderstood, but it is important for a man's emotional well-being in a relationship. While many men may not express their emotions as openly as women, that doesn't mean they don't have them. They often seek emotional validation, that is, recognition and acceptance of their feelings without judgment. Emotional validation is more than simply listening to what another person has to say. It's about understanding your feelings and recognizing them as valid. When a man shares something that is emotionally meaningful to him, he doesn't want it to be ignored or minimized. He wants you to understand what's going on in your head and how it affects your emotions. This statement shows that you care about him as a person and not just his image or the results of his actions. Many men find it difficult to ask for this confirmation. From a young age, they were taught to hide their emotions and be more rational, often ignoring or repressing their feelings. However, when you feel recognized, you experience a sense of relief and comfort. He knows that you see him for who he really is and not just for the role he should play in the relationship. This creates a deeper emotional connection where he feels like he can be vulnerable and open with you without fear of rejection or misunderstanding. This need for emotional confirmation is also related to the psychological security you feel in the relationship. When you know that your emotions are understood and accepted, you feel safer to open up and share your worries, concerns, or fears. This strengthens the bond between you and creates an environment where he doesn't have to bear the burden of his emotions alone. This affirmation is one of the greatest acts of support you can offer and helps create an atmosphere of trust and belonging. Emotional validation also means that you shouldn't minimize their feelings, even if they seem irrational or exaggerated. Women can often try to belittle or discredit men's emotions because they think they are not as important as women's feelings. But this only creates a disconnect. When you feel vulnerable or going through difficult times, what you need is not immediate solutions or practical understanding, but to be heard and understood. This emotional support creates a sense of grounding where you know you can be trusted no matter the circumstances. This need for confirmation does not arise only in times of crisis or difficulty. This is also important in happy moments. When he shares a victory, personal or professional, he wants you to celebrate it with him. He wants you to recognize the effort and dedication he put into achieving this goal. And when he realizes that you are happy with his achievements, he feels that his efforts were worth it. Thus, recognition is a fundamental element to feed their self-esteem and ensure that the relationship is positive and mutually supportive. Emotional recognition also involves recognizing a man's weaknesses. Contrary to what many believe, men also have insecurities, fears, and vulnerabilities. When you validate these feelings, he feels like he can be honest with you without fear of being judged or rejected. This helps build a relationship based on trust and empathy, where both can support each other in times of emotional need. When he knows he can count on you, he feels more connected and more willing to invest emotionally in the relationship. In addition, emotional recognition helps avoid feelings of helplessness. When a man does not feel that his emotions are valid, he may begin to feel isolated, as if his feelings are worthless. This can lead to frustration and even emotional distancing. Validation prevents this by creating open and honest communication between you. This, in turn, creates space for emotional growth and strengthening relationships. Emotional validation is also an important factor in intimacy. When you feel that your emotions are respected and acknowledged, you become more open to showing affection and emotional involvement in the relationship. This creates a strong foundation of emotional connection that makes you more willing to share your insecurities, fears, and desires. Emotional intimacy cannot be built overnight, but constant affirmation is one of the main factors in this construction. Finally, emotional recognition is important for a man's emotional health in a relationship. It gives you the security and emotional support you need to overcome life's challenges without feeling alone. This strengthens the bond between you and creates a more balanced relationship in which you both feel emotionally connected and supported, regardless of possible adversities. Now that you understand these 4 needs that are stronger than sex for many men: respect, admiration, freedom, and emotional recognition, you can see how important they are for a healthy, balanced, and long-lasting relationship. If you want to deeply earn a man's attention and affection, you must understand that these needs go beyond the physical. By working on these aspects, you will not only strengthen your connection, but you will also create a space where love and trust can flourish. If this content made sense to you and you want more tips on how to better understand men, seduce them, conquer them in relationships, leave a like now, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss new videos. Watch 2 more amazing videos on this channel that can help you even more. They are already appearing on the screen. And to show that you are part of our community, write a key phrase at the comments besides the obvious. Be sweet and strong.